Hey y'all, here OS Reviews. Today we're taking a quick look at the HAKII Action. These are a pair of TWS true wireless buds, which are aimed more for sports, such as jogging, cycling, or going to the gym, because they have this hook design that makes them a little bit more secure and hard to fall out. So it's a bit similar to the PowerBeats Pros, however, is definitely very chunky in terms of the design because it needs to have a bigger case to accommodate that clip. So the HAKII Action just tries to improve on that by making the case a little bit more clever in terms of how it folds together. See how the top and bottom can both fit a piece and they can then collapse together. It comes in 3 colors, including blue, pretty eye-catching, and HAKII does have always quite a good emphasis on their design and hardware at least, and they do have pretty compelling marketing oftentimes for their products. This seems to be no exception with the packaging here in this vibrant looking green. But these are also lacking, say, active noise cancellation, and HAKII doesn't have a companion app for their buds at the moment. Granted, you will find access to all the controls on here, including volume adjustment up and down just by long holding on the left and right sides. Great to see. It's a function that's often omitted, and it does have Qi wireless charging, so you can pop it onto a MagSafe or a Qi charging mat to top it up. Casing can get you upwards of 36 hours combined, and then when removed, they will get you around 9 hours of continuous music listening for the buds themselves, which is definitely on the longer side of the spectrum. And they also have, again, 10mm dynamic drivers, and on the inside, we have just the buds that we can see here just on top. Definitely going for a premium overall presentation, and we have a very thick foam that includes the accessories on the bottom, inclusive of some spare silicone tips to get a more snug fit and an extra nylon carrying pouch. Alright, so first impressions of the battery case is, like I said, it is definitely much more compact than the PowerBeats Pros, even though the buds themselves do have actually slightly better battery life, which is pretty crazy considering the size of the buds themselves are really not too far off in terms of how much room they take up. However, it's still, like I said, going to be a little larger than standard buds like regular AirPod cases because it has this stack, basically 2 of them on the top and bottom. It's really not bad though, and if you have a slightly larger pocket, it can still very easily fit in, and it still is a big improvement over the other past wireless buds that we've seen that has a similar clip-on design. So in the back here we do have the Type-C port for charging, the hinge here is made out of metal, and then the base here we do have a bit of branding info. So as a quick demo, we can just pop this onto the very top, and you can see how the charging here will pretty much start a moment later. LED status light on the case here that is slowly flashing. Pretty well constructed, and the hinge here opens up like so. Again, we do have that pretty interesting design here for the top and bottom, and pretty easy just to pop in and pop out. Case here really reminds me of a year, in fact, in terms of its imprint. And then the HAKII logo is the part that is touch sensitive. It is very responsive in my testing so far, so the gentlest of taps are triggered and registered very easily, which is great. One thing I will say though is for some reason the HAKII logo seems to be inverted on the left side, at least on my model. Maybe it's purposeful just to make it easier to distinguish which side is left and right by looking at them. However, I do wish that it would maybe be flipped around because when you're wearing it, it looks like one side is upside down, but like the PowerBeats, they are not detachable. Otherwise, relatively lightweight and slim and fairly ergonomic in terms of what the kind of drivers and the mesh looks like. It is using a metal covering. These are lacking a auto play and pause sensor, which is found on the other pair. So if you pop these out from your ears, it's not going to automatically pause the music, but using the controls in the front are easy enough. Discussing the ergonomics of the wearing experience a little bit more, definitely doesn't feel heavy even if you're wearing it for a few hours. With that being said, it does definitely become noticeable when you're wearing it. They aren't necessarily going to be the lightest or most comfortable buds I've ever tried, especially after coming out from the One More Comfo buds that we just did a review on. Those things are ultra lightweight, and even the AirPods in that sense almost seem invisible when you're wearing it because they apply almost zero pressure. But that's not really the point of these. Overall, it still is comfortable enough, but more importantly, it's just trying to create a more secure lock. However, I did need to play around with the fit a little bit. In terms of sound, HAKII has never really disappointed, and I have to say that the Action is not an exception. The sound is overall very well balanced, so I wouldn't say they necessarily have overpowering bass. In fact, if you are a bass head, you might want to crank it up a little bit more in some of the EQ settings on your device. But overall, you definitely still notice a kick when you're listening to a drum beat. It's just not earth-shattering, but still is comfortable, and at the same time, you still are noticing plenty of mids instrumentals, vocals, and trebles also shine through, with very good levels of detail overall. So nicely tuned drivers combined with overall flagship grade Qualcomm chipset. Call quality was also fairly good. They do have ENC or environmental noise cancellation, so using the mics if you're talking, it's going to try and reduce some of the background sounds. So that's more or less it as far as our quick hands-on look at the HAKII Action. Again, more than anything, I just really love the design of the battery case that they've gone here. I do think is rather original. They don't really have too much extra tricks in terms of a companion app or ANC or even a low latency gaming mode would all be nice to see. However, they work really well, I have to say, in terms of popping them out. They're very reliable and consistent. When working out, running, and jogging, it still feels locked in and secure thanks to that sports-oriented clip design. You can check out more details if you're interested in the links down below. For now, that's been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews.